The timing on that one, Courtney. Hello, everyone. Hello, hello. It has been a hot minute. Quokka, Courtney's Aloka, Entomological Society. What? Give me a couple years. Let me take it over. We'll get there. Noomba, Alexis, XYZ, Dan, Sam, Clandestine, Chaos. Hello. Thank you for the sub and happy birthday. Phoenix, Starberry. Hello, hello. Yes, everyone say happy birthday to Chaos. Very exciting. It is good to be back, chat. Um, so today's stream, we are going to go over everything from last week. Talk through the conference days, show you a bunch of stuff that I got at the conference. Um, and then I think I'm even going to run the presentation. Um, I didn't record it or anything, so I'm just I'm gonna do it live again. Um, but yeah, figured you guys would want to get caught up on what has been happening over in professional bug world. So, for those of you that don't know, last Friday, what's up, CPAWS? Hello, hello. Last Friday, I left to go to Portland, Oregon for the first time. I had never been up there before, so this was a very exciting trip for me. Um, for the Entomological Society of America meeting and the Entomological Collections Network meeting. These are two separate bug conferences that meet at the same time. Um, Entomological Society of America is abbreviated ESA, and Entomological Collections Network is ECN. So if I go for those, you now know what I'm talking about. But I started bright and early Friday morning. My Uber picked me up at 5 a.m. and uh, my airport is small and kind of shitty. So I thankfully did not have any problems with the big flight delay. Um, TSA and FAA not coming in. This was right before they said they were going to start um, reducing flights that were going out. And so I was very hopeful of making it to the conference on time. And I did. I had really no problems getting there and even fewer getting back. So I left. I had a pretty short layover in Texas. And then I flew directly from Texas to Portland. I got there and my hotel was right on one of the train lines, which was strategic on my part. My new job will not book travel more than 6 weeks out. And so all of the early bird registration and all of the Felark, thank you for the sub. 4 months. Sick. Oh, Marie, hello. Ask and you shall receive, right? When does Evan return from war? um, so because they wouldn't box, hello, hello. Everyone's here tonight. Yeah, doing well, thank you. How are you? Um, anyway, work won't book travel more than a certain time out. And so by the time that we were allowed to book anything, all of the um, conference center hotels, so like all of the rooms that are like right there so that you wouldn't have to travel, um, were booked up. And so were all of the early bird like cheap registration rates. But thankfully they covered all of that, but I still would have had to get to and from the convention center every morning. Um, and thankfully Portland has a very uh, what I learned throughout the week, a pretty robust um, public transit system. There's trains, there's buses, and my hotel was like right on a major stop. And so I had like maybe a 15-minute ride every morning. Um, but it was so sick. Uh, Even last year when the meeting was in Phoenix, when I was living in Phoenix, I still ended up splitting a hotel with someone because it was easier to do that than to drive to my house every morning. Um, because the public transportation there is not as good. So Portland, big dub, very sick. Courtney, I'm so sorry. It was literally seconds after you sent that message that I was like, oh, time to go live. But welcome back. You're here now. You haven't missed much. So far, we have covered my plane ride, and that was about it. Coming to the store. Oh, hell yeah. Field trip. Um, so I get to Portland, and I am, by happenstance, Phoenix, did I find anything to do in DFW? I sure did not. Um, this was maybe the least prepared for a conference that I've ever been. Oh, back up there. Who was that? I missed it. Thank you for the follow. I missed it. Who it was, whoever came in, but hello, thank you, welcome. Oh wait, I got a new Arbolito. What's up? Thanks for the follow. Um, no, I didn't actually find anything to do in DFW because I needed that time to finish my presentation. Um, I made kind of a last minute decision to switch up a portion of my talk. Um, and just with like everything happened, Space Camp, 4 months. Thank you, thank you. Um, so I switched up my talk a little bit, and I wasn't ready when I left, and I hadn't packed as early as I needed to, and I needed to run to the store a little bit to grab breakfast foods for the next for the travel and whatnot. So I was not understandable. Space Camp, understandable. Logan, Yoj. Courtney, I saw that you have baby roaches. Very exciting. I have some new bugs to show off as well. No live bugs, but we got some stuff. That's what we're doing today, Logan. We're regaling the tales of the Entomological Society. Um, but the travel was really smooth. Honestly, I didn't have any issues with the plane delays, so big dub over here. But throughout the whole meeting, there were two meetings actually: the Collections Network meeting and the Entomological Society meeting. They happened like right after one another. Um, there were several people that missed their talks or like had to pre-record them in the airport because they got delayed. So thankfully I avoided that, but it was definitely something that happened uh, to a lot of people throughout the conference, which is unfortunate. There was also a bunch of people that weren't able to make it. The federal employees, like all the folks and my friends from the Smithsonian, weren't able to be there this year because of the government shutdown. So it was a little bit weird this year. Um, but overall, still, I think really good for me. I had a wonderful conference. Um, so Friday night, get to the hotel, I check in, and turns out my homeboy is staying at the same hotel as me. We didn't know this until like maybe the day before, um, but we were able to then, uh, go to the conference in the morning and stuff together. So that was nice. Um, had a bit of a public transit buddy built in, and also someone to keep me accountable going home at a reasonable hour, which did not happen. uh, kind of failed in that. Beecher, hello. Welcome in. I feel like I haven't seen you in a while. Um, but the conference, the Collections Network conference, officially started Saturday morning. But they have a Friday night pickup to come like get your badge and everything, so you don't have to wait Saturday morning. Touching grass. I'm proud of you, but tisk tisk. um, uh, Space Camp. I'm talking about baby roaches. Sick. Um, we went to the hotel. We picked up our badges and everything. I got to introduce him to a couple of my friends. This was my friend Ethan. It was his first conference, so I was able to show him around, introduce him to a bunch of people. Tortilla, hello. You've missed me getting on a plane, getting to Portland, and getting on a train. That's it so far. You really have not missed that much. We are currently picking up our badges Friday night for the conference that starts Saturday morning. Um, we've got like 4 days to cover before we get to the HOA's space camp. I also didn't get into any automobiles until like way after the conference. Um, anyway, Friday night, we go out, we're hanging out, we got our badges. Um, and then one of our friends who was at the Beetle course with us this summer, she showed up with one of her friends. And after all of the early check-in stuff happened, we were like, well, we're here. Let's go hang out. And we found a really sick pizza place and got pizza and got beer and then went home because conference started at 8 a.m. the next morning. Um, and like I said, my friend was staying at the same hotel as me. And so our plan was to get the 7:15 bus or train rather to get us there at like 7:30. So we still had some time before all of the morning's activities started. And so our plan was to meet down in the lobby at 7. This is Saturday morning now. I am down there at 7. And our train stop was like maybe a 2-minute walk. So I wasn't really that worried about it. But I was watching the plane get close, or the train get closer and closer to our stop, and Buddy Boy's not meeting me down in the lobby. I give him a call, voicemail box not set up, did not answer. It is 7:08 a.m. and I text him, I will leave your ass at the hotel. No response. I left his ass. I went to the convention center. Um, and oh, where did that come from? Do I have? Oh, I do have Discord up somewhere. Oopsies. Um, Yeah, I mean, it was really the only choice because I wasn't going to be late. That's his problem. That's his business. But we ran into one of our mutual friends there. Uh, like in the morning, everyone was getting their coffee and saying hello and mingling, and they were like, "Oh, where's Ethan?" And I said, "I don't know. I think he's still at the hotel." Um, I get a text from his partner not too much later, and goes, "Hey, what time were you guys supposed to start? I don't think he's up yet." And I said, "Well, I've been here for half an hour." And so she goes, "Ah, shit, I'll make sure he gets up." And I guess she called him. She probably has some like thing to bypass his do not disturb mode or whatever. So she got in contact with him, and he eventually showed up like an hour after everything had started. But Saturday was just talks. Um, the Collections Network meeting is a much smaller meeting. Um, it's all of the folks who work in and work with collections. So it's all the nerds who really like the museum side of things. And like to put into perspective what this conference is like, we did have a 2-hour symposium on glue a few years ago. Like, what is the best glue to use in entomological collections? What's the most archival? What's, blah, blah, blah. So we take our very niche thing very, very specifically. Um, and it was pretty fun. We, it was a busy day of all talks. I had a working meeting over lunch that first day. Um, I don't know if I can talk about that yet. But I had a pretty big project proposed to me that I got invited to be a part of, which is very exciting and very, very fun. Um, but we'll talk about that in the future. But good first working meeting lunch. That was fun, and then more talks in the afternoon. And then in the evening, there's like the Collections Network mixer. They always rent out like a restaurant or a bar nearby. They'll feed us. We get our little drink tickets, and then we all just kind of hang out. This one was like a 20-minute walk from the convention center. And as we were going across this one bridge, there was a bunch of graffiti. And there was a bunch of this graffiti all over Portland that just said shrimps is bugs. And there was just a bunch of us like on this bridge sitting down, like taking pictures with the graffiti. And yeah, it was on like trash cans around the convention center. It was on the bridges. It was on signs. Um, it was a whole thing. But yeah, shrimps is bugs. Portland fucking rules for that. Love shrimps is bugs. Uh, wish I had the energy to do the conference mixers. Phoenix, I feel you. Um, I I commit to it since it's just like the 1 week a year. Um, this is the time where all of the folks that I've met over the years from all over the place are kind of all together. Um, and so I suffer for the week. McLarge, hello. Welcome in. We're just recapping the conference. All the happy hours at your last summit? Hell yeah. Excellent, excellent. Um, but yeah, ESA is definitely my time to not take care of myself. I drink a lot of beer. I sleep not nearly enough, and I stay out real late. Um, but like I said, I do only get to see a lot of these people once a year, and so after the ECN mixer was nice, the food was pretty good, uh, and we just hung out, and we were going to take the bus back. Where's my first prize? We're getting there, McLarge. We got a couple more conference days before we get there, but I didn't go to the awards ceremony, so I don't have a paper. Um we were like, "Oh, there's a bus stop right here outside of this restaurant. Like we'll just take that to get back." And we then looked at the departure times after we were waiting. Oh, sick. Good luck. We'll maybe see you afterwards, but I know you had asked about the talk, so I'll make sure you get the VOD for this one so you can see that. We looked at the arrival times for the bus and we were like, oh yeah, that's like not that bad. And then we realized, oh, that's actually in an hour and a half, not 15 minutes. We were all kind of confused with the time change and everything. So I was like, oh yeah, that's not that bad. That's almost this time. It was not. That bus was going to be so slow. So we ended up just walking back to the convention center, getting on the train again, and then heading back. Sunday is where things start to get a little kooky, because that is a day where both conferences are happening. All day Saturday is just the Collections Network, but Sunday morning, the Entomological Society of America starts their meeting, but ECN also has part of its meeting on Sunday as well. So there was a talk, there were two talks actually that I wanted to make it to that I couldn't because I was still at ECN. But at one, the silent auction ended, and I won two things at the silent auction this year. Now, traditionally, the ECN silent auction has been bad, has been very bad for my financial situation. But this year, I did okay. I did pretty okay, and I didn't spend like that much. So, the first thing that I got, and this was only $5, so this was basically free. Um, this is the Directory of Coleoptera Collections of North America. Arnett and Samuelson, 1969. So this is a book that goes through state by state and shows like who the prominent beetle collectors. Oh, it's not gonna like it, is it? I always forget when it does this. So it goes state by state and it talks about like who the main collectors in the area and stuff were, and what they specialized on and everything like that. $5 where you save not taking the bus. That's so true, Helen. Roxers, thank you, thank you. 4 months. But yeah, I just thought this was cool. This is outdated now because a lot of the personal collections that were listed in this are obviously of people who are dead now. But I thought this was cool, and I was like, well, why not? I'll get it. I'll pick it up. So yeah, $5, basically free. Then the other thing, I got bid up a little bit. So one of the sponsors of this part of the meeting was Pensoft, who is one of the publishers of the journal that this collections thing runs. A Luigi board? Louisa? Pensoft was there. And so they were one of the casualties of the flight delay. So some of the things that they had put out for the silent auction weren't there Saturday, but they were on Sunday. And so this was there, and it was pretty cheap. And I went, well, nobody's outbidding me on that. I am going to win that regardless of how much it costs me. So I was willing to go high on this one. I'll show it because it does matter to the story. This is not Kermit the Frog. Uh, this is Agra Grace, which is this is a carabid. It doesn't look like a carabid, but it is. I promise. Um, this was there, and I was like, "Well, I'm winning that regardless." So I was sitting there camping the auction table, and one of the other people who bid on that was another person who works on ground beetles. Um, a professor that I have worked with in the past. And so I saw her bid on it. I went up. I bid on it, and I didn't realize that she was right behind me as I was making my bid. So I got a little smack on the back of the arm because I outbid her. But I was like, hey, you already have cool ground beetle art in your office. I need to start stocking up. So, yes, Uh, these were my two silent auction items, and the picture ended up only being $40. So both things together, less than 50. I made off like a bandit. I made off so well. Um, so I didn't take this into my office today when I went back to work because I needed to show you guys. But yes, this is new and this is going to go in my office now. Paid way more for way worse. Me too, absolutely. But there was a third guy who bid like us, between the two Carabid researcher folks, and I was worried that they were going to uh, like make it go pretty high, um, but they didn't. So I got it for pretty cheap. Roach, what's up? Welcome in. Easy peasy. Yeah, yeah. And then after that part of the conference ended, um, I went to lunch with my master's advisor. That wasn't good. Hi, everybody. Hi. Hi. Um, I went to lunch with my master's advisor and all of her grad students in the history of her lab that were at the conference. So there were. It is kind of fragile, but it survived. So I was quite worried when that just happened. But yeah, so my master's advisor, Gritty Bug, what the fuck? Hell yeah, Leonard made that. Leonard's the goat. Um, so there were like 9 of us that represented like 15 years of grad students that my master's advisor had, and she got us all these little scarab pendant thingies. She is like one of the foremost scarab beetle researchers in the world. And the little tag here uh, says that it's worn as a talisman for luck and protection. And so she got us all of these, which is very cute. It does have little hieroglyphic bits on the back. Um, but she got us all of these and then also got us all together to tell us that she was retiring. Um, and that was a huge surprise to all of us. Um, in a field where people tend to stay and do this until they're like old, like old. It's fairly rare for folks as relatively young as she is to retire like that. Um, but she has always been the best the best person um the best person in entomology that I've ever met. And she said she was retiring. She's like, yeah, I'm still going to do science, but like I want to open my position up so grad students, folks like you who are like coming out of grad school and whatnot, have the opportunity to apply for these sorts of positions. And like these positions are open and people are going to be able to move into them, which is like such a noble thing to do. Um, and so it was a very nice lunch to have us all together, and there were folks that like I hadn't even met before who had graduated far before I got there, and then some of her new grad students that came after my time there. So yeah, it was a great lunch. It was great to see everyone, and it was great to see my advisor again. But the retiring news was, happy and sad. She's obviously like she's excited about it and everything, but the professional entomology community is losing a real one. So we all got our little scarab thingy, which is very nice, and I'll have to figure out something to do with that. Um, and then I met up with Shruti. Um, they unfortunately, Shruti and Lucas came to this conference. For those of you who maybe didn't know that, as like continuing education and professional development through Alveus. So they both came, and unfortunately, Lucas was not feeling the best, and so he took it easy on this first day. But Shruti met up with me. But the problem was that Shruti was registered as Lucas's guest. Drove through the airport so early. Ah, that's very nice of you, Phoenix. I I love a good airport drive friend. You're a real one for that. But Shruti came in. She was there a little bit early, uh, but on Saturday. But I had the ECN meeting, which had a whole separate like conference registration, so she wasn't able to come hang out at that, unfortunately. So Sunday, she was waiting for Lucas to get there. He got there. Uh, they went, got set up where they were staying, and then he wasn't feeling well, but she decided to come to the conference on Sunday because the plenary talk was happening. So there's like a big opening ceremony with a like a 45-minute talk from one of the researchers. And it was really good this year. So I sat with Rudy through that, and then right after that was the opening of the convention hall. So this year, or every year, they open up the exhibit hall. So all of the vendors who have things, all of the student clubs, all of the sponsors, the society itself has booths up for you to like register and sign up for your new sections and everything like that. And there's free food. So obviously, like everybody at the whole conference goes. And this conference is pretty big. Um, there was about 4,000 people there this time. So uh, it was a big exhibit hall and it was a very busy evening. Um, but my friend that I had gone to dinner with on Saturday night, she was only there for the collections network meeting, and you needed the other badge to get into the exhibit hall. And so, uh, okay, backing up, because Shruti was registered as Lucas's guest, she couldn't get in until he registered. So I pretended to be Lucas. I went up, I took mine off. I went, yes, I am Lucas, and got both badges. We went to the talk, we went to the conference thingy, and then I was like, oh, my friend can just use Lucas's tag. for right now. So there were two separate Lukai in the span of a couple hours, just because we needed to move things around a little bit. I am getting a call that might be important. So I am going to throw a BRB. I think we just finished up the like Sunday night mostly. So I will be right back. Leave this up. Oops. Hello. I didn't realize that I had left the camera on, but it's fine. Um, why are we scattering? Am I back? Is that why we're scattering? Um, while it was there, I don't know if it's too hard to see, but I put the dragonfly up that Entomology got me. Oh yeah, you can definitely see it. And you can also see my new giant pile of drawers over here that I'm still working on integrating. Um, Lab is getting more set up. I got another new thing recently. I now have light on arm, so this is helpful. But yes, I'm getting lab space more settled because I currently don't have enough room to put things, and I have a lot more IDs and stuff to do. Um, so lab is getting a regrowth, and we're gonna get more tables and stuff in the back. Uh, don't read what I said. Well, now I have to go back. Oh yes, I was on the phone. That was somebody from work. And tomorrow is our monthly birthday celebration. So instead of doing everybody's birthday on their birthday, we have like, okay, it's November, it's November birthday day, and it turns out that our admin assistant who organizes all the birthdays, it is also her birthday month, but she did not put a card, and like she doesn't usually like let people put cards and stuff in for her birthday. So that was scheming for tomorrow to get stuff for her birthday. So good secret. Why does this sound like Jurassic Park? Because it's called Jurassic Lo-Fi Remix Chill. It absolutely is just Jurassic Park. Skip over Roach's secret. I don't wanna. I don't wanna look. Starberry secret is they're supposed to go to work. Assigned birthday at work. Yeah. Um. Yes. So that was what that was. But I I haven't like quite reached the level with people at work that were like calling each other regularly. So that was definitely important to take, but I was like, I don't know what this could be about. So uh I'm glad that I was able to take that. Where were we? Sunday night, yes. Okay, so I was Lucas. I got Shruti into the conference, and then my friend became Lucas because we had the extra badge to get into the exhibit hall. Yeah, yeah. The second Lucas. Uh, First Lucas was me. Second Lucas was like a 5'2" blonde woman from Chicago, and then Lucas 3, when Lucas actually showed up on Monday, was tall man bun Lucas that we all know and love. So yes, three Lucases in the span of like 24 hours. Um, but after the convention hall thing, Shruti went home for the night. Um, Long day of travel. Lucas wasn't feeling well, so they went to go hang out. However, my friend from Chicago, she works at the Field Museum. She wasn't staying for the rest of the conference, so we were like, well, this is probably gonna be the last time we see each other for a while. So we are going to continue the party, and so we went to a rooftop hotel bar, and they had happy hour from 3 to 5 p.m., but then also 9 p.m. to midnight. Field Museum, I love that place. I've never been, Courtney. I might be trying to take a trip there in the spring because they're doing their like fossil Pokemon exhibit thing, which I was very excited about. Um, yeah, I would love to go to the Field Museum. They've got a crazy bug collection. They're one of only three that are larger than where I work. Um, so yeah, one of the four largest in the U.S. But yeah, so we got there for late happy hour, and Oregon was big on they had a lot of fruit based cocktail thingies. Going back over winter break, sick, very nice. And I had like some Marionberry cocktail, and I got a martini, and then I had a whiskey sour. And long story short is that I had every drink on the happy hour menu, and also some kick-ass tacos. But that meant we were out late, and I was just a little bit skunked. Um, I did not throw up. I have only thrown up at one ESA meeting, and that was actually my first ESA meeting, and that was because the night before it started was my 21st birthday. So I was real real messed up that that year. Don't get me wrong, I have been messed up in other years, uh, but thankfully have not thrown up in front of colleagues. Marion berries are just blackberries. Is that true? Is that why they just taste like blackberries? I got I got hella scammed if that's the case. Huh. That's interesting to know. Just a blackberry. Hmm. Well, I got some blackberry syrup then at the airport to come home with me. But yes, so I had all of these drinks. I had these tacos. I get home at 1:30 in the morning. Chat, my talk was at 8:30. I had to be back at the convention center ready to go in 7 hours. Um yeah, so I made it. I was fine. Um I I don't know how I do it, but every year I am able to go rage and then come back to the convention center and basically be fine. Um I knew this talk was a little bit of a big one, because it was my first one like representing my new position, right? Um but because I had registered for this conference and for this talk before I got hired, I was actually still in the grad student competition. Um, and so, yeah, I gave my talk. It was ridiculously well attended. Um, it was at 8:30 in the morning, and there were like 70 people there, which is crazy. Shruti and Lucas made it, which was cool. So Lucas was alive and well by this point on Monday morning. Shruti and Lucas came, and then there were a bunch of other people there that I knew, including like the second most important person in my division. Oh, by this point, yeah. At least compared to the night before, he was alive and well. He's still good as far as I know. Flexing his 70 friends. Yeah, imagine double chat right now, sitting like IRL in a room. Crazy. Um, yeah, my talk went really well, and like I said, Shruti and Lucas were there. My like pretty high up boss was there. His wife was there, who was actually also one of my professors in undergrad. Um, bunch of people were there. I had really good questions, and I felt like the talk went like really, really, really well. I have a pretty strong history of second because you're the most important. Starberry. I am one, two, three, four, five. I'm like 6 levels down, maybe. Um, but anyway, Big Boss was there, and I have gone to ESA every year since 2016. There were 2 years where it was virtual, so I didn't go to those. And there was 1 year that I was in a symposium, so I wasn't in the grad student competition. Every other ESA, I have either gotten first or second in the student competition section. There are a lot of different sections, and they're broken up by topic. So I was in the systematics, evolution, and biodiversity like section, and then the biodiversity like subset. So there was like 10, 10 talks total in this section piece um, that I was competing against. It's not like a big thing. There's a bunch of winners, but yes, every except for one ESA prior to this, I have won first or second. I ended up winning again. So my last grad student competition went out with a bang. I won, which felt pretty good. I talked to my boss that was there, and he was like, I texted uh, the number one, like the highest ranking guy at Art Building, and said that he needs to give you more speaking engagements because that was really good. And Shruti and Lucas liked it, and there was another guy there who's a very very famous entomologist, um, but has a pretty bad reputation of kind of being a dick. And even he came up and told me that my talk was good. So I was like, I felt good. I felt good about that. But this was Monday morning, and you don't find out until Tuesday night whether or not you've won. So I didn't know that I had won at this point. I just kind of felt like I did. Did they know I was smurfing? Yes, I did. I did say that at the beginning. Um, once we finish the recap, I am going to deliver the talk again. Um, but I have it edited for non doxing purposes. Uh, and so my intro, I'm like, "Hi, yes, this is my current position, but all of this is work that I did during my PhD at Arizona State." So they knew. But according to the rules, you have up to a year after you graduate to compete in the student competition. So this is not an unheard of thing because a lot of the times you have to register. Like I submitted this talk in May. Uh, or no, I submitted it in like March. And at that point, this job that I have wasn't even advertised yet. So, um, a lot of things happened really quickly at the in the past couple of months. But yes, so um, they knew that that was happening, and I also specifically for the talk, I wore that centipede button cover thing, and it went over so well. Christy, thank you. Welcome in. Thanks for the follow. Uh, if you don't want to hear all of this story twice, you could probably leave because I'm gonna talk to you in like an hour. But the centipede thing, I wore for the talk, and then I was like, I got so many compliments on it. I was like, I'm just gonna wear this for the rest of the convention. Um, so yeah, that went over well, and the centipede thing looked sick as fuck. Um, bye. Uh, that was Monday. What else happened Monday? I have to check my camera roll to remind me what happened Monday night. Um, was this Monday? Oh, okay, right. So Monday is the university and regional mixers. So there will often be like a couple of schools that will group together and like have food and drinks for people who are like alumni to all get together or prospective students to go and get together. So yes, we did in fact go drink again. But there was also like the section business meeting, so all the systematics folks got together. We voted on some stuff. We got some presentations. We gave some awards out, and then that was over at like 5:30. But then the mixers didn't start until 7. Um, and so we had some time. We had some time to kill. Are there entomology students in frats? Yeah, beta upsilon gamma. That's the frat. That's bug. Um, but yeah, I mean, if that was not like a jokey question, my vice president of the entomology club when I was an undergrad was also the vice president of her sorority. So yes, there are entomology frat bros and sorority girls and non-binary degenerates. Um, so well, I don't know if that was the right word for that, but anyway, um, while we were waiting for the mixer things to start, I'm like, why is there a big crowd over there? And I look over. See, I knew I should have said it. It got auto modded. I'll allow it, but Automod didn't like it, so I don't think I should say it out loud again. Um, but I was like, wow, that's like a big crowd over there. Like, what's everyone doing? Because I was gonna go wait and hang out in the exhibit hall, but it was shut for the night. And we go over. It's a fucking llama. There's a llama just chilling in the convention center. Look at that. Um, and yeah, Nikki, you know, you know what's up. Um, so I was there with one of my friends, and he was like, "I'm gonna run to the bathroom. I need you to figure out what's up with this llama." And so I stood there, and I was like, "Oh, okay." I pet the llama. I learned his name was Caesar. So my friend comes back. He goes, "What did you learn?" I said, "Well, his name is Caesar. One and two, he's very soft." So then I got my picture with the llama. He is apparently famous. I did not realize that there was a famous Portland llama, but Nikki knew about him. Casual Ruffian is also a local that knew about them. His name is Caesar, and apparently he's like a registered therapy llama and will go to like old folks' homes and schools. He was at the Portland protests recently. Everybody kind of knew about this llama. I didn't know about this llama, but he just showed up at the entomology meeting, which was fucking sick because we got to pet a llama. Um, so we went around to the university mixers and stuff. Didn't stay out too late, but 20K on Instagram, that's crazy. Damn, llama more famous than me. I mean, like valid, but still. Um, so we're out at the university mixers. Uh, I'm talking to a bunch of people. I'm with my friend Ethan, who again is staying at the same hotel as me. For whatever reason, all of the universities decided, like, yes, we are just going to get crackers and cheese as food tonight, as opposed to like the usual, um, like appetizers, but still real food. So that was a bit of a bummer. It was probably like 11:30 when we were getting back, and we were checking on our phones, like, oh, what's around our hotel. It wasn't the bug cheese. No, you're right. We were checking around, like, oh, what's around, and we found a restaurant that was like 3 blocks from our hotel. So we're like, sick. We're gonna go check that out. We're walking, we're walking, we're walking. We start walking up to, uh, have I had the bug cheese? It depends which bug cheese you're talking about. Because I have had mimolette, which is the cheese that has the mites on it. But I haven't had the maggot one. No, I would absolutely do it, but I have not had that one yet. But I have had the mite cheese. Um, so we walked to this dive bar that also said it had sandwiches. And as we're walking up to it, I'm like, oh man, like it said that it was open tonight. But like, why is it so dark in there? And we get up to the door and we kind of just like, we peek in and there's people in there. It is just, in fact, the darkest restaurant that I have ever seen. Um, how's the Mike cheese? The Mike cheese was good. I liked it. It was at a like a science on tap sort of thing. So one of my committee members works on mite population genetics, and so he brought some to this event and like had it out. And you looked at it, you could like look at some of it under a microscope, and then you could eat some. So I liked the mite cheese. Uh, but we walk into this like stupid dark bar. It is also having happy hour, so it was like $5 whatevers, and then reasonably Jade Rabbit. I did not go to that one, but next time I go, I'll mark that one down. Good to know. This was called. I think this was called like the Virginia Cafe, maybe something like that. Um, Super dark, cheap booze. They had like the little lottery machines in the back. Very, I cannot overstate how dark this bar was. But we placed our orders. We got our burgers. They came out phenomenal. Like obnoxiously good food for being like this weird dark bar. So that was quite nice. Cheap dinner, very very good, and close to our hotel. No clue what they looked like. Tasted great. Honestly, they did have like a little tiny candle on each table, but it was putting out like I think a firefly was probably brighter than what it was doing. It was one of those like fancy rich people things where you eat in the dark to like heighten your senses, but it wasn't that. It was a five. It was a $5. Any leaks? What kind of leaks do you want? I don't have anything to leak. Every bar in your hometown. Oh, any and all bug news. Um, Yeah, I guess I hadn't thought about that. Um, any and all bug news. There is some bug news. The big bug is hiding from you. Well, it's not new bugs. It's bugs that were bugs but are no longer bugs. Um, no. Unbugged, yes. So there's the giant tiger beetles, the Amblychyla in the U.S. and there was where's this shit? It's Tuesday. Where's this talk that I went to? Craziest bug in the world. There it is. Yeah, so a friend of mine is working on Amblychyla. It's a tiger beetle, but it's like a ground beetle adjacent. And there's a bunch of species in the Southwest, and her project was trying to do like genetic delineations of like, oh yeah, how are these things different genetically? Original results came back and went, hey, don't think these are actually the same thing. So then what she did, Space Camp, cover your ears. This is your warning. I don't know if you're still here. Uh, she dissected the wieners, and the wieners of like 5 species were pretty much the same. So they got unbugged, or they will be getting unbugged based on wiener morphology. But then I saw a talk in the Staphylinids Symposium, like the Rove beetles, and this was maybe the coolest talk that I had seen all week. I don't know if it's going to like this link. Um, so this was in the Rove Beetle Symposium, and you guys are gonna freak the hell out about this. If you check these, it's not wieners, so it is Space Camp safe. Um, these are Rove beetles that are in with termites that have these like really crazy physogastric projections where the body like on top of the beetle looks like a termite. I'm specifically looking at this Sporactha mirabilis and Constrictotermes cavifrons picture. It's the second one in the second row. That thing on the left is is a beetle. Um, how do I? Hmm. Give me a second. How do I do this? Turn that off. We'll come back in. Profile. I'm live. That's correct. So if I do this, what happens? Aha. Yes. This is nuts. So over here on the right hand side, this is a termite. On the left, this is a beetle. Like like that's the beetle antenna. This is all beetle going on here. And yeah, so a friend of mine is working on this group. Here's another one, not quite as crazy, but still has like extra legs to live in with the termites. And here are two that are like more more normal than the others, but still pretty crazy. Um, to like live in amongst these termites, they've developed this. This is a different type of rove beetle, but to like live in with these termites, it's developed this thing where like if you squint, it kind of looks like a termite. Um, J7, what's up? So we can flip that off again. Now we're back to me. Much less interesting to look at than these beetles, but um, yeah. So that was like maybe the coolest talk that I saw all week. There was a lot of really good stuff. A couple of people that worked on ground beetles. There were only 6 ground beetle talks, including my own. So I did get to see all of those. Um, but since this was like post grad almost, um, I didn't really have to be as on as usual, because before this is where you do all of your networking and your show ponying around and like trying to convince people to hire you. I already did that. I already convinced the people to hire me. So this one was kind of a fun conference, and so I was able to um, go around and just kind of pick interesting talks and see what's happening in the bug world. Um, I don't know that I ever made it to a talk with Shruti and Lucas. They were off doing their own thing. I know they went to a lot of things on pollinators for like the pollinator garden stuff, and like science communication and education and outreach talks. I simply did not have time to make it to any of those because a lot of these sessions are running concurrently. Like I said, there's like 4,000 entomologists at this thing, so it's a really big meeting. There's only like so many places that you can be at one time. Are the termites fooled? Mini Pearl, hello. Yeah, they are. So it's sort of like the same. Like there are beetles that live in with ants as well. Um, that will sort of gain that ant-like body form, but those termitophilus ones are like that's some of the wildest adaptation thing that I've ever seen. So that was very very cool. I was very excited about that. That was Monday. Student mixers. Tuesday, um, there were a couple talks in the morning. Midnight croissant, lovely, lovely, lovely. Um, Tuesday there were talks that I wanted to go to, and then I had to judge a pinning competition. So this was something that they brought back after a few years, and this was something that I competed in a few years ago. They would give you a set of like 15 or 10 or 15 bugs, and then you had half an hour to prepare them. Everybody was given the same supplies and materials, and so there were some tiny things that you had to point. There was something that had to go in ethanol. There was some big stuff that you had to pin. There were labels that you were given that you had to like trim and put on correctly. I was a judge this time around, so Tuesday afternoon, um, I went and did that. And then from there, I went to the entomology games. Sounds like a trick to get people things pinned for free. Mini Pearl? Mini Pearl? I don't trust people. I don't trust people to do that for me. And some of these people were really, really good. And some of them, not so much. There was kind of a wide range of skill levels and people who actually competed. Um, so I got to do the judging. I did not dock for rounded corners because everybody was given the same points. That event was actually sponsored by the folks that run Ecology Supply, which is like the new people who sell pins and nets and aspirators and stuff. So all the supplies came from them to give to the people who were competing. Um, and because I'm friends with the folks who run that, they asked me to be one of the judges this year. So that was pretty fun. I went right from there to the Entomology Games, which is Quiz Bowl, but just bugs. So this competition is actually how Allison and I met. We were competing against each other many years ago. But at the regional meetings, the universities will compete, and then each of the regions will send two teams to nationals. At the national meeting, then you compete, and then you win, and then you compete, and you compete, and then you like eventually can win the whole thing. Uh, it's just fun. I love trivia. I love quiz bowl stuff. Um, and not gonna lie, I still kind of got it. I've been out of the game for a very long time, but I still did pretty good. And so I was sitting. The losers die and winners get freedom. um, but yeah, so I got to sit with Shruti and Lucas for this. This was like one of the only times during the conference that we got to actually like hang out. But then from there, Tuesday night is the Coleopterists Society. So all the beetle folks get together. And instead of doing more academic stuff like we used to, post COVID, we basically get together. There is one big talk. There's like a plenary for that. And then we go out and we hang out. So that was Tuesday night. After the entomology games, Shruti and Lucas were like calling it. And I was like, I wish I could call it, but this is beetle time, so I gotta go. I must do it. So this resulted in another late night. And that brings us to Wednesday. Wednesday is the day of the conference that I usually skip to go do fun stuff around town. However, this time, because I was staying after with Shruti and Lucas, I actually did go to the conference on Wednesday. There was a couple of really good Beetle talks, and some of my friends and my boss, they had their talks Wednesday. So I should probably go to this. But backing up a second to Tuesday, the student award ceremony, like where they announce who won all of the different sections, always overlaps with the Coleopter Society meeting. So I was sitting there watching the plenary talk on dung beetles, and I get a text. I get 3 texts from separate people who are like, "Hey, you won your section." And so that was fun. That was very exciting. Like I said, my last grad student competition. Nice to knock it out one more time. Then Wednesday afternoon, Shruti and Lucas picked me up at my hotel, and we got to go exploring. Stop it, you guys. So nice, so nice. Yeah, so after Wednesday, this was no longer conference time. This was hang out with Alveus folks time. And we went to this little trail, and we hit some pretty good collecting. The trees were covered with moss, and I took these little white trays with me, because there's a very highly scientific technique called moss petting that actually gets you like a pretty good number of beetles. So you like hold the tray against the tree, and then you just pet the fuzzy moss, and all the beetles fall out. And this worked surprisingly well in terms of like what we were able to get. Bye, Starberry. Thanks for stopping in. Good to see you. Bye. Um, so now we're moving on to some of the other stuff that I like specimens that I got at the thing. Um, this is the material that we got uh, from moss petting. So there's a firefly. That's Elychnia. So one of the ones that might be like a new species or slightly different species. Um, and then these little green boys that are floating all around down there at the bottom, those are pill beetles. They're very highly associated with moss. Oh, Tortilla, you're jumping ahead one vial. I sure did. Um, but these little green guys are on moss, and this is actually a family that I had never collected before. So that was very exciting. We got pretty, pretty good amount of stuff from petting the fuzzy moss. But they picked me up pretty late in the day, so we didn't have a ton of time. But as it turns out, on that trail, we were hiking past the Cullen household. Ho, 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 ho. Um, the actual house of the Cullens in the movie was like up on a hill. Uh, and it was super tree and densey, so we weren't able to like actually see it. And then we tried to drive up there, and obviously there was like a big fence that we couldn't go around and whatnot. So I did see it with my own two God-given eyes, but I did not. I was unable to capture it in any meaningful way to show you uh, to show you these things. So I do apologize, but I was thinking of you all, particularly those of you who we did the whole marathon in Nick's Discord at one point. So it was fun. I think a lot of you like Twilight more than I like Twilight. Um, but definitely while we were walking through the woods, Lucas was whistling the ho 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 ho, which was very very funny. Um, Midnight Sun a bit ago, nice. That was the first time. So I read Twilight like back in the day when it was big, and I had seen the first movie, but then I didn't see anything else after that. So, uh, yeah, watching it with Nick in his Discord was like the first time that I had seen the later movies. Entire time in Washington, yeah. Yes, yes, yes. It was like, yeah. I mean, definitely a good time. And I also thought that most of it was probably filmed in Washington, so I wasn't like expecting the Twilight lore. But Shruti was like, "Oh yeah, there's that thing," and I was like, "Whoa, that's pretty sick." Um, went back, went to bed, finally got some sleep. I'm pretty sure I went to bed at like 9 a.m. and then uh woke up at like 8. So caught up on a lot of sleep that I had missed earlier in the week. Um, and we went to the coast. So we drove west across the remainder of Oregon until we got to the ocean. And we stopped at this one place along the way for breakfast, and that was this vial of bugs. So there's an earwig. I got a couple of them, but that top one, with the head covered by the lid, that's a ground beetle. And then this is a big ground beetle. Um, I will mount this stuff up probably this weekend. And I'll have better show and tell of these things, not through the vials later. Um, but yeah, some really big stuff in here, which was very nice. And I also got a couple new birds. So I actually didn't check what my total was. Um, how many new things did I get? Please hold. My eBird. So I only added two to my world list, but I added one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. I added seven to my US list because some of those things that I saw I had seen in Canada. Um, but at this little breakfast place where we got these beetles, I also saw chestnut back chickadee, which was a new bird for me. And then there was also an American dipper, which is a little fat adorable songbird that will like dive into running water, and it's like the only aquatic or semi-aquatic songbird that there is. Really weird little thing. And again, the only time I had seen that before was in Canada. Um, so we just saw that while we were eating our breakfast, which was kind of like a crazy. I did not expect that to be the case. Um, so I added those two, and then we got to the actual beach, which in up until now unprecedented Oregonness, it was raining. It did not rain the entire conference, but it did in fact rain on both of the non-conference days. Um, so let me expand out, turn this up, hit you with airplane mode so we don't dox. But I got, I don't know if it's gonna like this. This is a glaucous winged gull. I saw him while I was at a food truck. And then nanner slug. Oh, I saw a new salamander. This was cool. Under rocks. This is a Dunn's salamander. So this was a new species for me. But that was not. Oregon was fucking like crazy. Like this doesn't feel like this should be real. I mean, obviously it is, but it's just like a very magical tunnel of trees. So that was cool. This was like right after this was that breakfast place. And there was also a rather large tree stump with Lucas digging in it for beetles for me. Fury and Lucas were like very game when I told them. I was like, hey, I'm staying afterwards, like to hang out. That would be really cool. But like, I'm gonna want to look for bugs and birds. And they went, sold. So everybody was getting their hands dirty, digging in a little bit, trying to find stuff. And Lucas actually did find more ground beetles uh, than I did initially. Um, so that was cool. We eventually then did get to the beach. It was pouring rain, but we found kelp. And this was one of the things that I was hoping to find because there are beetles that feed on like the fly larvae that are feeding on kelp. So I think on any other day, this probably would have been pretty good. But it was so rainy. I couldn't see anything. I had better luck taking my glasses off than I did trying to keep them on because they were just covered. Um, no beetles under the kelp. However, I have seen all those videos on TikTok of people like just taking kelp and chopping it and then like biting it. I wanted to taste what kelp tasted like. So I cut a chunk and I ate some kelp. And it kind of just tasted like a pickle. It was just it's hollow in the middle. It's got kind of like a squeezy, crunchy outside, and it's brined. Like it's brined in the ocean. So it just tasted like a pickle. I know they make kelp pickles, but this was like I just cut it off of the piece that had washed up, which I was a little concerned about. I didn't know like what the food safety laws were around it being safe to eat straight out of the ocean like that. But I did it, and it was tasty and delicious. I did only take one bite, but it was worth it. Um, and then we drove down the coast a little bit, and I was like, "Hey, I need to pull over here because there was a surf bird reported, which was a new species for me." I got out of the car. I had it in like 2 seconds. It was great. It was very, very quick. And then we kept going uh, to like that one really famous Oregon beach that like everybody goes to when they go there. I didn't realize it was only like one place that people would go. I thought all of Oregon's beaches looked like this, but this is Cannon Beach. So we went there with ooh, my phone is gross. We went there with the big rocks. It is the Oregon beach that everyone goes to. And I saw pelagic cormorants there, which was my last like new bird. The rain jacket was such a win, Sam. It like it was great. I was dry. I was cozy. It was a little hot. It wasn't that hot while we were there, but with our hiking and like going up and down the stairs and up and down the mountains on Friday, uh, I couldn't tell at one point if I was sweaty or if I was just wet. um, but yes, overall jacket 10 out of 10, great purchase. Does it have pit zips? I think it does, but it was wet, so I didn't unzip. And then on the way home from that beach, we went to Oregon's oldest cedar tree. Uh, Big ass tree. If any of you want better pictures of this stuff that is not just on my phone, go check out Shruti and Lucas's Discord. They posted pictures earlier, so they've got better things of it than I do. And then the last thing that we did Thursday before going home, we went to the Tillamook Cheese Factory. I know I sent this somewhere, so some of you have seen this, but I did get to meet a celebrity while we were there. I met Squitchy in the wild. Look at that. Natural habitat for the cow brush. Ooh, ah. Um, I want you guys to start calling me this. Of course, it's not going to load because it would be, of course, be funny if it did. Hell yeah, the Cheddar Master Machine. Mom, there were no penguins. And then the gift shop was pretty lit. They had little cheese dudes. They look like blocks of cheese, but they had little faces on them. Aw, Beeger, give Lilo a kiss. But goodbye. Thanks for stopping in. Good to see you as always. Um. Oh shit, we gotta pick it up. I gotta stop at 9. So we got cheese, we got ice cream. That was great and good. Um, After you do the little cheese tour there, they give you like little squares so you can test cheese, and that was like excellent. Um, then Friday, we went and we saw waterfalls and shit. That was like the big thing. People in Oregon were like, "Oh yeah, waterfalls." So this was the first one that we went to, and this was actually where I found. I'm gonna have to move this shit again. Hold on. I need to set up my stream deck. I keep saying things, but who knows when I'll do that. I collected some of the like purple snail eating ground beetles, which was a major win. This was like definitely one of my highlights and like one of my targets for the trip. So this was very, very exciting that I got to find these finally. And these are actually two separate species that co-occur all throughout like California and Oregon, Northern California and Oregon. So very excited about these. These were at First Waterfall. Um, and we met up with one of Shrudi's friends, and then we ended up hiking another waterfall. Kicked my ass. You know, I am not the best shape in the world, and this one was a lot of up and down, a lot of up, realistically, which is what sucked. But it was very pretty. So this one was like a double waterfall. And then lastly, we went to Multnomah Falls, which is like the really, really big famous one. Oh yeah, Phoenix. It like the first day when we were just like kind of walking it was on a path, it was totally fine. But I I got beat up on this one. But this last one was very cool. It was a really, really nice waterfall, the last one there we made it to. Um and then yeah, I packed up. We left the next morning, and Shruti and Lucas dropped me off. Their flight was like maybe an hour after mine. So they dropped me off, and they were like, "Hey, like, let us know how security is and whatnot. Like, we might get to see you again." And because of all the delays and everything, I was like, "Oh, I don't know if I'm actually going to be able to meet up with them again." And yeah, from the time that they dropped me off, I don't think I stopped walking until I got to my gate. Like, security was such a breeze. There was nobody there, and I was like, "Well, this is pretty good." So they dropped me off. We said our goodbyes, and then like maybe 10 minutes later, we were like, "Oh hey, let's get lunch together one more time." So I did end up seeing them again, which was very, very cool. Um, we do we do have to speed run a little bit. Uh, I want to show you stuff that I got, but I also need about 10 minutes to run through my talk. So we're gonna start on show and tell now. Um, First, I have a piss jar full of bugs, obviously. These are Lord Howe's Island giant stick insects. These were donated from the Portland Insectarium as one of the specimens for the people in the competition to pin. And so I grabbed a couple of the remainders to make displays. Yeah, you made it, Rock. Excellent. Perfect timing. Um, So I got those, and I also got this vial, which is from Louisiana. A friend of mine brought me these things, something that they had collected over the summer. So this is just straight ground beetle biomass in here. So this is excellent. How old are those? Are you talking about the Lord Howe's thing? I think pretty fresh. The Lord Howe's Island giant stick insect is like hyper critically endangered in the wild. But they are fairly common in like insect zoos and stuff like that. So these are just old ones that had passed from the zoo. These were not wild collected. These were not like we were not doing any endangering by using these. Um, and then ESA is also a place where there are just so many good stickers. Um, I bought a roll of like magnet backing so I can put all of the stickers on magnets to put them like on the fridge because I have sticker anxiety. But this is one that was themed from the Collections Network meeting. Jesus Christ, why is that flashbang? So Collections Network Portland. This is a rain beetle, which is the family Pleocomidae, which we've looked at on pre-chat chats before. But this is like a Pacific Northwest specific insect. So very cute design. It's holding a Starbucks. So these were just free at registration. Love this thing. That's somebody's business card. You guys can't see that. Got a fat stack of magnets. So something that the Coleoptera Society does every year is they make themed magnets based on like where the conference is being held. So this was last year's when the meeting was in Phoenix. So that little the Phanius dung beetle is like the logo, and then they theme it around everything. So this was last year's, and I have this, but obviously I obviously have this since I was there last year. But I grabbed this because we are trying to get complete sets of these for the bug cabinets at work. So I have a couple of others so I can put them on the cabinets. This is the Portland one from this year. Little dungy pushing a donut. And then here was the three for 2020, 2021, and 2022. This was like this was COVID times and slightly afterwards. So this was the three of those meetings all kind of grouped together on the one magnet. So like I said, I had this one already. This is just to try to complete the set at work. So those magnets free at the Coleoptera Society booth. We have lots of folks who are non-beetle people come by every year. They're like, "Oh, I just love your magnets." And I was a student counselor for the Coleoptera Society for a while, and I also bought a lifetime membership before the price went up. So I'm locked in. I got Beetle Society membership for life. And so to give back to them, I'm going to apply to be on the board for next year. But when I have downtime at the conference, I will just go and like sit in the booth and talk to people that come up and stuff. So the magnets are always a big hit. We have lots of merch that comes through the Beetle folks. This is in no particular order of how I got things. You guys already saw what I won from the silent auction. But I got this cheese pin at the Tillamook factory. Medium cheddar. And then I also got Tillamook fridge magnet. Oh, Space Camp, you don't think I have extras? It is something to consider. These were just being given out. This is just an Entomological Society of America pin to like clip on shirts and whatnot. Streamer hand. There we go. Look at that. The theme this year was sharing insect science globally, so these came free with your registration. Um, but then every year they do a gift if you like re-up your registration for the next year. And I thought this one was pretty stellar. Excellent bug hat, Entomological Society of America. So now I can rep between this and Alveus. W hat, yeah. So excited about this. They gave out a beanie a couple years ago, um, that had like a little pom pom on it and the entomology logo on it, and it's like my favorite hat. If any of you guys follow me on Instagram and you like scroll back through winter, you'll definitely see that hat. And I would love them to make that like permanent merch because I love that thing. This is not merch so much as stuff that I got back. Nobody contacted me this year to like bring specimens or like collect specimens for my new job to like bring stuff back. But these are mostly. I did grab a couple ground beetles. I forgot about that. But these are mostly dung beetles from Thailand that I collected last summer that I had sent to a friend of mine to identify, and she also barcoded them, so she got DNA out of some of these. So I got my beetles back, and now I can incorporate them now that they've got IDs on them. And like I said, there are a couple of scattered ground beetles in there that I picked up from someone. So like I said, not merch, and I didn't purchase these, but I did get them back, which is nice. This might be my favorite thing. This might be my favorite pickup. I went to NSOC and all I got was this lousy pin. Are you fucking kidding me? It's got lice on it. Love this thing. This is going directly on the pin board. You guys, when we did the show until last time, this was very high up there. I saw this and I went yoink immediately. Love that. Then they also is Ophelia here? I don't know. I haven't seen her tonight. She's probably eating something weird. Um, but her entomology professor was at the meeting, and he made these really sick pins. Um, so like theme for the meeting in Portland, but that is a real butterfly wing that has been buttonized. So he told us that he would have these then to like come early and you could like pick your own because none of the wings had the same pattern. So I got one of those. Very cool. And then this was one of my tokens of thanks for judging the pin down entomology competition. So nice glittery sticker with bugs on it and it says Portland. Ooh. Shiny, shiny. What else do I have in here that I can show you that won't give out my full ass government name? Oh, one of the journals that I've been a reviewer for and that Entomology Society publishes. This is Insect Systematics and Diversity. Little grasshopper sticker. Kind of like the cover. Oh, entomologists love little trinkets. Yeah, I am fucking trinket maxing to the max. Uh, you were here, Roach, for my pin collection stream. You guys have seen this. But yeah, new lanyard to put more pins on. It has my name tag there and everything, so I'm gonna hang on everything here. Can I show the Lassie one again? Yes. Just a whole segment. Yeah, Tortilla, we're getting into the merch now of stuff that I got at the conference. Um, I have to hop off in like half an hour, so we still have to kind of speed through this a little bit quickly. Lousy pin, collectors love collecting, absolutely. Put on every pin. J7, this would take forever. Sister-in-law handed me a bag of dead butterflies in front of a party of like 15 people. It was great. Yeah, I know that feeling. We definitely do a lot of insect trading in weird places. Um, I haven't had a chance to look through this very much yet, but this is a children's book called Katie the Caddisfly. This was being sold by a jewelry maker who like makes jewelry out of the caddisfly cases. Um, and so like it explains how they do things. I think she illustrated it herself, but author signed. Hell yeah, children's book Pog. Um, yeah, so signed Katie the Caddisfly. Haven't had a chance to read this yet, but I saw it and I went, well, immediately I'm buying it. And then I also got, this was not at the bug conference. This was on at one of the places that we went hiking, but banana slug sticker. Obviously, when in the Pacific Northwest. Love a banana slug. And then I also got this, the biology of the plant bugs. This is the family Miridae, and this is like a pretty expensive textbook. Um, this was also being uh, given by the people who run like the pin down entomology competition. So big textbook, very dense, and this is not something that I would necessarily use day to day, but I got it for free, so here we are. Back on that. Now we can go through the rest of this box. Uh, this was also brought to me as a gift. You guys have seen something like this before. You recognize the point punch. However, this is special because these are like normal sized insect points. This is the size that I use most often. And then this is the one that I just got. So much bigger. It comes to a much finer tip. So I'm able to point smaller bugs. And these point punches are like, they were like $85. But almost certainly way more expensive now because the people who make them don't make this size anymore. But a friend of mine had this and was like, I don't really use it, so now I have this, which is an extremely thoughtful gift because I can make Mega Point. So when we get around to mounting the stuff from Portland, I'll definitely use these because those little moss beetles are quite tiny. So we got that. Very sick. Love that. one of our section stickers. So when you sign up for ESA, you can sign up for medical, urban, and veterinary entomology, or systematics, evolution, and biodiversity, or plant, insect, and ecosystems. So you have like all of these different like subtopics that you can join. And so these were at our section meetings. The This is the systematics, evolution, and biodiversity one, because this is the section that I'm in. So I got some of those. And then another thing that they have that's really cool. Be a roach doctor. That would be entomology veterinarian. Veterinary entomology is like bugs with animals. I have to join a gang. They do say your affiliation, so like maybe. But another thing that's really cool about the exhibit hall is that there are like student society, like entomology clubs and stuff like that, from all the different universities, and they end up making some really really sick art. I don't remember who made the lousy pin, but that was one that I really really liked. This was another one that I was very excited about. Just a cool click beetle with flower sticker. I'm also going to put this one on magnet backing so I can put it on my fridge. I liked this one a lot. The Ento like travel sticker, that you see whenever people go anywhere. This one is from the University of Georgia, but a lot of people have these. That's that sticker. This program. Funny little card. So the same folks that do the beetle magnet design every year also did this. This is not a sticker or anything. This is kind of like a little display card. But I liked it, so I got it. They also made these, which I think is going to be super helpful for you, chat. So this is a nice little pocketbook, like little handbook thing that kind of helps you with insect ID. It goes over a lot of the stuff that we've talked about during like pre-chat chats. And some of those like easy ways to separate, this is a beetle versus this is a dragonfly. So the little cover here, and then inside I thought that was funny. It just tells you because that's the way that they are, because the way that it is. Ha, it's a joke. This is not actually a helpful ID guide. But I did get a couple of these because I think they're funny. I got the sticker version of my art. So this also came from Pensoft, the same folks that brought the big picture that I got at the silent auction. I also got it in sticker form. And then that's my Snoopy watch. You guys have seen that. This came from the American Mosquito Control Association. Yeah, you guys didn't get it. My dark humor, my dark entomology humor, you just wouldn't understand. A little pin with a mosquito that says yesterday's threats today's solutions. Again, from the American Mosquito Control Association. This was free at their little table. I have so many fucking stickers. Oh my god. These were from ESA, kind of the doing science globally thing. Um, come on. United under one phylum, Entovocate. Entovocate. The support the swarm. Ask me about arthropods. And there was one more. This one was my favorite. Yeah, no penguins, Mom. It's a bug conference, not a bird conference. I break for beetles. So yes, lots of stickers. Here's another thing from Sissy B, the Systematics, Evolution, and Biodiversity section. It's one of our gang initiation stickers. Um, duplicates of lots of those. Oh, now we're getting to some good stuff. First, this Beatles of the World book. This is not new. I've had this for a while. Um, However, the authors are from London and from Canada specifically. And one of them wasn't at the meeting last year. So I had to take this across the dang country again so I can get it signed. So I've got I never said that Ophelia smelled like soup. I did meet I mean, I've known her professor for a while, but I did get a pin, Ophelia. He made these with actual wings. So I got the book. I don't know if this is the best way to show this one off, but my homie that was staying at the same hotel as me, and the same one who made my Hercules beetle weenie earrings, made me. This is a Carabus nemoralis head and pronotum, so neat beetle earring stud. I wore this on the day of my presentation too, so I got a little beetle coming out of my head. And then some of you are aware. I don't know that Spawns or Bubbles or any of those folks who are like were really stoked on this are here. But if any of you are familiar with the Leaf Hopper on Instagram, she does like entomology themed knitting patterns. Um, and she is a friend of mine. So I got some of her stickers as well. So this is like her main leaf hopper design. And then since she moved to Arizona, she did one of the Western Imperial moths. She did this sick scorpion that I liked a lot. And then the sparkles. Ooh, platinum. Shiny, shiny. Are you sure I didn't just go to a sticker convention? No, I'm not. Because that is what most of this is. But like I said, I'm bad about putting stickers on things. So I have to put them on magnets. I ordered like magnet things so I could put them on my fridge instead. Or one of my bug cabinets over here is metal, so I can put it on that too to keep things. Long link. I'm leaving this chat because there's too many links and I don't know what they are. CJ7, thanks for hanging out. We are. Oh, I nailed that timing. Oh, those 3 printed ice pods are very cute. I nailed the timing. I have about 15 minutes left to go through my 10-minute talk. So we can do that in just a second. But I did also want to mention, I did not forget about what we talked about last week. Does anyone remember what's going to be in this box? We'll have to circle back to this because I don't have time to go fully into this now. But I'm gonna give a little teaser for those of you that are here at the moment. Can I squeeze in an ant update? She's good. I have to change out her water tube, so I'm gonna probably do that tonight. But yeah, ants are good. I'll have them for stream next time. But remember last time when we were trying to sex that one tarantula and I couldn't find my box of spider molts? Well, I have found the box of spider molts. So, we talked about this. These are all shed skins of various tarantulas that I've had over the last like 10 years. And there are a lot of them that you can still see, like the spermatheca and the sex organs and whatnot. So these are all little crunchy chips and whatnot. So we aren't going to talk about this now, but I did want to say that I found this. We can talk about this next time. But yes, I'm going to quick run through the talk. And I will also say that I don't know if I will be here for pre-chat chats on Wednesday. It is the grading party for the local university. We go over and like help them grade their insect collections. And so I don't know how long that's going to take. I will be definitely back for regular chat chats, but I just don't know how much time I'll have pre to do that since it's going to be after work and everything. So might be a little bit short this time. I will try and make up stream maybe Wednesday or maybe over the weekend. But hopefully next week we will be back on a normal schedule. Kitty and Acorn. Aw, very cute. I don't hate you guys. Stop being sad. No sad. Yeah, soon. I don't have Steam Roach. I am no gamer yet. And I have trivia tomorrow night, so I can't do tomorrow night stream. And I'm going out of town Thursday. So it would have to be this weekend sometime to catch up on things. So we might get a double in here. Um, yeah, I know Ophelia has this giant PowerPoint for game things, but we can talk about that later. I have a phone call scheduled in not very long, so we are going to weekend PC setup stream Steam. No, we're not ready for that yet. Okay. Did this work? There we go. Okay. Uh, all right, sick. You guys can see the PowerPoint. I did not prepare this like I would be giving it virtually, so I don't have anywhere to stick my camera. So you're just going to hear the disembodied voice for now. But this is the presentation that I gave at the meeting this year. This is the one that got me first place. So this won me $75. And also my registration or my membership, excuse me, paid for next year. And then this is also going to give you a little bit more of an idea of like what I actually do and what my dissertation was about. So yeah, um, I'm going to start now. My name is Evan, and I'm here today to tell you about my dissertation work involving interactive identification resources for North American ground beetles, examples from NEON. Now, if you're not familiar, NEON is the National Ecological Observatory Network, which is a big NSF program that has the goals of creating a long term standardized ecological data set. So, this project is going to cover the next 30 years, and they break up the continental United States, including Alaska, Hawaii, and Puerto Rico, into these 20 different domains that represent the major ecoregions across the entire continent. And at each of these domains, they use standardized ecological sampling, the same exact techniques and the same exact materials to have comparable data from across the entire continent. Some of the data that they do collect range from abiotic factors like air chemistry, wind speed, and wind direction, as well as temperature and precipitation. But they also collect biological data that ranges from small mammals, fish, to amphibians and macroalgae. But since we are here at the Entomological Society of America meeting, I am here, of course, to talk about one of their other focal taxa, the ground beetles, or the family Carabidae. Now, at ASU, we serve as the biorepository for NEON, meaning that every single one of the biological samples that NEON collects over the course of the study comes through ASU and is stored at the ASU Natural History Collections. Before these beetles come to us, they are collected in the field using a pitfall trap. They are sorted, pinned, processed, and identified by the technicians at the NEON sites. And then they arrive to us at the biorepository, pinned, labeled, and already identified. But how are these technicians that are often hired for just a summer and with very little entomological training making these identifications? Well, the way that that works with NEON is that they're provided with a standardized set of keys that helps them with this identification, and primarily to get to genus, that is American Beetles Volume 1. Now, this is a really, really good resource, but because these technicians are stationed at a particular domain, they don't really need to worry about all of the ground beetles in the United States, which is what American Beetles is. So, for example, D14 down here in the desert southwest has 46 different species of ground beetle, while up in the other corner, the northeast domain 1 has 43. Now, even though their diversities are very similar, there's actually zero overlap. There's zero species that are in common between these two sites. So, what that means is that the folks up in the Northeast are having to go through parts of the key that only come out to species that are found in Arizona, and vice versa. The Arizona folks are having to go through things that are also in the Northeast that they're likely not going to find. And this major resource can often lead to confusion about the identifications. This table comes from an Egley et al. 2020 paper that shows that there is about a 10% base misidentification rate amongst these summertime technicians. And so this is where my project comes in is I am creating localized species keys for each one of those 20 domains. So rather than being built upon all of the 2,500 ground beetles in the United States, they are just built with the known local species pool, so the species found at each site. They are multi entry rather than strictly dichotomous, and all of the terminology is defined, and all of the characters and species will have reference images. That way, if you haven't ever worked with a ground beetle before, you still might be able to work through these keys. So, if you were someone working through one of these keys, let's say you're at domain 15, the Great Basin, they have this checklist here of 17 species that are found at that site. Uh, then I will go in and code a lot of these characters that are useful for ground beetle identification. And let's just focus on what this process looks like for one of these characters that you might not be familiar with unless you specifically work with ground beetles. That is this supraorbital CD. So if we click on that character specifically, on the back end, so while making these keys, I'm able to put up the description of the character. So a supraorbital CD is the number of long CD present on the head above the eye. And then I'm able to code in character states, or basically the choices um, that you can make to make this character work for you. And in this case, ground beetles can have either one supraorbital CETA or two supraorbital CD. Now, hypothetically, you're now one of these D15 employees, and this is what the key is actually going to look like. So there are these dorsal reference images, so you can see what the species that you eventually get to looks like. And then here on the right, you can see some of those couplets that we were just looking at earlier that can help you make your identification. So let's say you're one of these technicians, you decide to look at our new favorite term, the supraorbital CD, and maybe you don't know what that means. So if you hover over either one of these options, these keys will tell you what it means. So 2 supraorbital CD has the definition of 2 long CD above each eye. But if that definition is not enough, you can of course click our little camera icon here, which will then bring up these nice focus stacked shots of what these characteristics actually look like. So the beetle on the left here has just a single supraorbital CETA. There is just one long CETA above each eye, versus the one on the right, which has 2 supraorbital CD, both there marked with arrows. And if your specimen that you've collected from D15 has 2 supraorbital CD, that taxa count will go from 17 down to 10. So now there are fewer characteristics here that you can use to make your next step identification, because these are only relevant to this group of beetles that is left. Let's take a look at another character here, the maxillary palpomere 4, whether it is subulate or unmodified. Subulate is another carabid specific term, which means small, reduced, and pointed, like you can see here on the left, versus unmodified here on the right. And now, let's say our beetle has those 2 supraorbital CD, and it has this subulate palpomere. Well, that leaves us with just one species left. This is Bembidion nebraskense. This was just 2 clicks to get to this identification, which is really remarkable considering the normal, strictly dichotomous key would take over 44 couplets to get to genus, and then another 62 to get to species. So, in just 2 clicks, because we don't have to worry about all of the other species in the US, we were able to get to our identification in just 2 clicks. And I think these photos really make these keys what they are. Because this is another ground beetle character that I had a lot of difficulty with when I was first starting out. This is what we call the plica, or the pleat or fold in the outer edge of the elytra. This is the character, this is the diagram. I've never, oh God. thank, thank you, Anonymous. I've never been gifted subs during an academic talk. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Everyone's here learning now. Heck yeah, thank you. Okay, we're gonna get back to it. Um, this is the diagram from American Beetles. So this is what the folks at Neon are trying to use to understand this character. And this is what that character will look like in the new key. This little fold here on the outside edge of that hardened wing cover with the arrow indicating exactly what you're supposed to be looking at. So I really think that these high definition photos are really what separate this key from what is currently available. Now, hopefully at this point, you're thinking, wow, that's really cool. How can I, as another entomologist, get involved and make these keys for my group? Well, they're all built on this platform called Symbiota, which is the backbone database for things like Ecdysis, SciNet, and now the Neon Biorepository data portal. Something to note is that SciNet is a botany portal, and the botanists are actually way ahead of us in terms of using these keys to identify plants. So let's take a look at some of the keys available on SciNet. And this is just a checklist of all of the different Arizona floras that you can see. So you can see the Arizona Cyperaceae, which is all of our sedges, the things that are in the ASU Arboretum, Camp Creek. All of these lists have an interactive key next to them, but not just these ones that I was able to fit on the screenshot here. There are actually 85 more checklists of plants in Arizona that have these interactive keys. And so if we look at one of these keys from Organ Pipe Cactus National Monument, there are 527 species broken down by family, by species, and then on the right, you can see these different characters with photos that will help you get to your identification. But this is where I actually want to take a look at what Ecdysis is currently doing, and where I would like to take a pause and ask you to please try this out. As far as I know, I am one of the only entomologists working on making these keys, and there's a lot of more success that happens with more community buy-in. So if we take a look at what Ecdysis can do right now, by one of the other really unique things in Symbiota is that you don't have to have a starting checklist. You can just search. So I did here search for all beetles in Multnomah County, Oregon, which is where we are currently at the Portland Convention Center. This brings up a very similar looking list. You can see the species and the families on the left, and then the actual characters on the right. However, you'll notice that there are only 43 species as opposed to the 527 of the plants from Arizona, and there are only 2 of these physical characteristics to use these keys because I've only coded characters that are useful for carabins. Figuring out which is the Bupristid or the Bostricid would need other community buy-in to attribute these different characters to these different groups. So the more that we as a community work together to create these keys, the better the resource becomes overall. And so again here, if we look at the superorbital CD, you can see after we've made the description, after we code the character state, we then have to tell the key which species has which character. And so here are all, or a screenshot of part of all of the ground beetles in the United States. You can individually attribute each one of these things. So with these blue check marks, Um, you can individually assign that there is one superorbital Ceta, like on the genus Colliurus and all of these genera here, or you can assign it to the tribe or the genus level, and it will inherit that character, which is what that I in brackets means. So you will attribute all of these, and as you continue to build these resources, they just get more robust. So the reason why I'm here kind of asking you all to try this out is that I really do believe this is an underutilized resource for the entomology community. The more community buy-in there is, the more robust the system becomes, and the easier it is to get people who haven't been fully trained in entomology uh, to be able to work and use these keys. You don't necessarily have to use the really difficult couplets, which aids in a much smoother user experience. If you have a palp or a tarsimer that's been broken off, a lot of times in the traditional keys, you're kind of stuck. But with these multi entry keys, you don't necessarily have to use those ones, so you can kind of work around it in a back end way and oftentimes get to identification without having to go through everything all at once. And this does increase the accessibility to new taxonomists. Circling back to Neon, those summer technicians are having a lot easier of a time grasping what they're supposed to be looking at with all of these reference photos. And lastly, and arguably most importantly, we cannot let the botanists outdo us in this. They're currently far ahead of us in using these keys, and I think we need to do some serious work to try and catch up. So with that, I would like to thank blah, 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 blah. And with that, I would be happy to take any questions. Thank you. All right, I'm back. I couldn't see anything that you guys were saying. So let me quite literally built different. Superorbital CD. Yes, yes, yes. Whoa. Bits? Space Camp. Thank you. Thanks for the hundo. Yeah, rare event. Subs in the middle of academic talk. Very funny. Fun stream idea when you have a PC. Get a PC. Roach, thank you. Thank you. Oh, that is a really interesting idea. Pull out a bug and tell you where it's from. Interesting. Cool. Yeah, so that's what I've been working on. That's like half of my dissertation. The other half, which I didn't talk about, that original dichotomous key, that book that they use currently, I wrote the new version. I've talked about this before, but I submitted that chapter right before I left for this conference. So all of my plates, all of my figures are in, and I am waiting on reviews. So I did make the hard version, but also I'm making the new version that hopefully makes things a little bit easier. Um, and yeah, coming out of that talk, like I said, Shruti and Lucas went, and they were like, "Wow, I had no idea what you guys were doing, what you were doing for your dissertation." So I don't know. I hope you guys learned a little bit more about it there too. Um, thanks, mom. No, it's not a rare event. I'm pretty sure she's proud of me all the time, Tortilla. Pretty sure, at least. Um, but yes, so that's what I've been working on. I do have that other call to hop on. So unfortunately, I cannot stay very long. Oh, Space Camp. So sweet. I won't get used to it though. I won't get used to it. Gotta play it cool. Space Camp said something nice. Um, but yes, thank you all for being here. This was quite fun. I hope you enjoyed my haul and the recap of the conference and my little talk. Um, I will do my best to be available for pre-chat chats Wednesday, but I cannot guarantee it. Um, again, because I said I have to go grade collections, which I would be happy to tell you about when I do end up streaming next. Thank you again, Anonymous, for the gifted subs and for all the bits, everyone. It does mean a lot. I am going to send y'all. Ooh, Shruti just made it. I was literally about to hit the raid for Alveus. But I'm going to send you guys over to them, and maybe you guys will get a recap of the conference from Shruti and Lucas's perspective then. So I'm going to send you all over there. Thanks again for hanging out. I will see you when I see you. Have a good night, everyone. Goodbye. Goodbye.